On a very cold morning in Minneapolis, loud gunshots broke the silence. Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old nurse, was shot and killed. The shooter was a federal agent. This happened on the city streets during an operation run by the Department of Homeland Security. Federal agents quickly gave their side of the story. They said Alex Pretty was a violent person. They claimed he had a handgun and came close to them. They said he strongly fought against the agents. Because of this, an agent fired shots to protect himself and other officers. The federal government said Alex Pretty wanted to cause great harm to law enforcement. However, many videos from people who saw the event started appearing. These bystander videos showed a different picture. They showed a federal agent pushing another person to the ground. Alex Pretty, wearing warm winter clothes, then stepped forward. He seemed to hold only a cell phone. An agent used a chemical spray on his face. Then several agents wrestled him down to the ground. While Alex Pretty was on the ground, surrounded by agents, people heard many gunshots. This difference between the official story and what the videos show creates a big question. Was Alex Pretty a dangerous man with a gun, or was he an innocent citizen trying to help? The government's first explanation was quickly doubted. Most important, none of the public videos show Alex Pretty holding a weapon.
This leaves everyone to wonder what truly happened in the last moments before the shots were fired. 2. Alex was. Alex Pretty was more than a name in the news. He was a 37-year-old nurse, known for his kind heart. He worked at the Veterans Affairs VA hospital in Minneapolis, helping those who served their country. His job was in the intensive care unit, where he cared for people who were very sick. Many families remembered Alex for his warm and gentle manner. Mac Randolph, whose father was a veteran, shared a story about Alex. He said Alex was there during his father's final hours, making sure he was comfortable. Alex was the sweetest person you can imagine, Randolph said. This showed how much Alex cared for others, especially those facing difficult times. Friends and neighbors also described Alex as a good person. Jean Weiner, who knew him for 5 years, called him gentle and community-minded. She said he would never hurt anyone. Alex lived by himself in South Minneapolis and often worked long hours at the hospital. He loved being outside. He enjoyed cycling and went on many adventures with his dog, Jewel, who passed away a year before. Alex was a citizen who followed the law. He owned a gun and had a legal permit to carry it. This was something his city's police chief confirmed later. Beyond minor traffic tickets, Alex had no criminal history. He believed in fairness and justice. His ex-wife, Rachel Canoon, said he was a voter who had joined protests in the past after George Floyd's death. In his last days, Alex was worried about the federal immigration actions happening in Minneapolis. His father, Michael Pretty, remembered their last talk. Alex had given a $100 tip to a Latino worker who fixed his garage door, showing his concern. He cared about people deeply, his father said. Alex was upset about federal agents arresting people in the city. He thought it was terrible, his father explained. Alex believed it was wrong and had even taken part in protests against these actions. This makes one wonder, Did his strong sense of right and wrong lead him to the place where he lost his life? 3. The big operation. The city of Minneapolis saw many federal agents. This was part of a big plan called Operation Metro Surge. The Department of Homeland Security said it was the biggest operation of its kind in history. About 2,000 to 3,000 federal agents came to Minneapolis and St. Paul. They came from different groups like ICE and Border Patrol. The operation started in early December 2025. The official reason for Operation Metro Surge was clear. Agents wanted to find people living in the country without papers. They especially looked for people who had orders to leave. Another goal was to look into money fraud cases in Minnesota. But many people in Minnesota did not agree with this.
They felt the operation was too big and too harsh. Minnesota's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, said it was a federal invasion. On January 12, 2026, Mr. Ellison, along with Minneapolis and St. Paul, sued the federal government. They said the operation broke the law. The lawsuit claimed the operation was political. It said the federal government targeted Minnesota because its leaders spoke against the administration of President Donald Trump. Was this operation a real way to keep the law, or was it a political attack? This question made many people think. By the middle of January 2026, the operation led to over 3,000 arrests. However, federal officials did not share full details about everyone taken into custody. ICE officials later said they arrested anyone without proper papers, not just those who had committed serious crimes. Alex Pretty's death was not the only shooting. It was the third time federal agents shot someone in Minneapolis in just 17 days. On January 7th, an ICE agent shot Renee Good. She died. Then, on January 14th, federal officers shot Julio Cesar Sosa Celia in the leg. He lived. These events showed a serious situation in the city. 4. Another death. 2 weeks before Alex Pretty's death, another life was lost in Minneapolis. Renee Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3 and a United States citizen, was killed. An agent from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, shot her on January 7, 2026. She was in her car on Portland Avenue when federal agents came to her vehicle. The official federal story was that Renee Good tried to run over the ICE agent. Federal officials and the President, Donald Trump, said the agent acted to protect himself. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem also said that Renee Good tried to hurt the agents. However, videos of the incident showed a different story. These videos, taken from different angles, raised many questions. They did not clearly show Renee Good trying to hit the agent with her car. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey watched the videos. He then spoke to the public and said the federal story was not true. He also told ICE to leave Minneapolis, showing how angry he was. Many people in the city were very upset by Renee Good's death. Protests began immediately. Schools in Minneapolis closed. Many businesses also closed their doors. Thousands of people went into the streets to protest, even in the cold winter weather. People showed their anger and sadness about what had happened. This public anger grew into a massive citywide event. On January 23, 2026, the day before Alex Pretty was killed, a large general strike took place. It was called ICE Out of Minnesota, Day of Truth and Freedom. Tens of thousands of people in Minnesota joined. Hundreds of businesses closed to support the protest. The city felt like it was ready to explode.
full of tension and strong feelings about the federal presence. 5. The city protests. Right after Alex Pretty was shot, news spread fast. People used their phones and online groups to share what happened. Quickly, many people came to the street where it happened, near 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue. It was very cold, 10 degrees below zero, but more than 100 people gathered. Throughout the day, even more protesters arrived. They were angry and afraid. The streets became a place of loud protest and strong action. People shouted, "ICE out now." They called the federal agents cowards and told them to leave Minneapolis. Federal agents used special tools to control the crowd. They sprayed tear gas, pepper spray, and used flashbangs that make a loud noise and bright light. Protesters tried to make barriers in the street using garbage bins. At least one protester was arrested, and news videos showed them bleeding. Because of the trouble, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey asked for help from the state. The Minnesota National Guard was called to the city. Governor Tim Walz put the Guard to work. Their job was to help the local police and protect the Whipple Federal Building, a main center for federal agents. The National Guard members wore bright yellow vests. This helped people see they were different from the federal agents, who often wore camouflage clothes like soldiers. The Guard worked to keep federal agents and citizens separate. Leaders in the country had very different ideas about what happened. In Washington, D.C., the White House spoke about Alex Pretty. Stephen Miller, a top official for President Donald Trump, called Alex a domestic terrorist. He said Alex tried to hurt federal law enforcement. These claims were made just hours after the shooting, before any full investigation. Other federal officials and Republican leaders thanked the federal agents. They said the agents were saving the country. But leaders in Minnesota disagreed strongly. Governor Walz called the shooting another terrible shooting by federal agents. He said it was a plan of organized cruelty against the people of his state. He also said Minnesota's justice system must be in charge. Senator Tina Smith added that federal agents beat and shot Alex Pretty, who was a 37-year-old U.S. citizen and a nurse. The country was caught in a deep political disagreement, a war of words about the law and what was right. 6. A fight in court. The conflict moved from the streets into the courtrooms. Minnesota's state government, along with the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, started a lawsuit. They sued the federal government because of Operation Metro Surge. The state leaders believed this operation was against many laws. One important argument was about the First Amendment. This law protects people's freedom of speech and the right to protest.
The state said federal agents stopped people from protesting peacefully. They also said the federal operation was a way to punish Minnesota. This was because Minnesota often votes for the Democratic Party, and its leaders had criticized the current president, Donald Trump, and his administration's policies. Another key argument used the 10th Amendment. This law talks about the powers that states have. The state of Minnesota said that federal agents were doing police work without the state's permission. This made it difficult for local police to help their communities. The federal government, however, argued that federal law is more powerful than state law in immigration matters. They said the president could send more federal agents to states that did not cooperate fully. Other groups also took legal action. The American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, filed 2 separate lawsuits. These lawsuits claimed that federal agents wrongly arrested people who were just watching the protests. They also said agents were stopping and searching people unfairly based on their race, especially people who looked Somali or Latino. A judge tried to limit what federal agents could do,
but a higher court later allowed federal operations to continue as they were. A main question in these court cases was, does a state have the right to stop a big federal operation like this inside its borders? This was a very important and difficult legal question to answer.
The situation grew even more serious outside of court. State investigators from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or BCA, wanted to examine the place where Alex Pretty died. They had a special paper from a judge called a search warrant. This paper meant they had the legal right to go to the crime scene. However, when the BCA agents arrived, federal agents stopped them. They would not let the state investigators enter the area where Alex was shot. The head of the BCA, Drew Evans, said he had worked in law enforcement for many years. He said he had never seen federal agents block state investigators from a crime scene within the state's own area. This meant the conflict was no longer just a legal argument in court. It had become a direct physical standoff between two different government agencies. Life in the city. Operation Metro Surge brought many changes to life in Minneapolis and St. Paul. It was not just about protests or arrests. It affected everyone. Schools often had to change their plans. Some schools closed, and children had to learn from home. Other schools had strict lockdown rules to keep students safe. For example, federal agents once tried to make an arrest right outside Roosevelt High School when students were leaving. This caused fear and confusion for many young people and their families. Even the University of Minnesota made its buildings more secure, changing how students could enter. Many people in the city became very scared.
They were afraid to leave their homes. Some families did not go to doctors or hospitals, even when they needed help, because they feared being stopped or arrested by federal agents. Local groups had to bring food to people who felt unsafe to go outside. The large number of federal agents also put a big strain on local services. City police officers got many more 911 calls about federal agent actions. This meant police could not respond as quickly to other important calls from citizens. Sometimes less serious emergencies had to wait. The situation was very stressful for local police, and many officers needed support for their mental health. The federal operation changed the feeling of the whole city. It created many difficult questions that people still asked. When can federal agents use strong force against citizens, especially if those citizens are following state laws? Who has the right to investigate shootings by federal agents when they happen inside a state? Can the federal government send thousands of agents into a state without the state's agreement? Is it fair for the government to target a state because of its politics? These big questions showed a deep problem. The crisis made people wonder about the power of the federal government and the rights of states and their people. It left many important things unclear for the future. What happens now? The city of Minneapolis remained in a difficult time. The large federal operation Metro Surge did not stop. Many federal agents were still present. Officials said they would stay until all undocumented people were found. No one knew when this would truly end, causing ongoing worry for many. Finding the truth about the shootings was very hard for state police to access crime scenes or key evidence. This stopped the investigations. The lawsuits, started by the state and the American Civil Liberties Union, were slowly moving through the courts. Legal cases take a long time, so people waited for answers. Alex Pretty's family felt deep sadness. They had lost their son. They still did not have clear answers about why he died.
No one was held responsible for his death. This was a heavy burden for them. Alex's father said he could not get information from authorities. This conflict showed bigger problems for the country. It was about how much power the federal government has. It also questioned how much power states have to protect their citizens. There was a crisis of trust between different government levels and with the public. Many people felt worried about the future. They wondered if these big problems would ever be solved. Alex was more than a news story. He was a nurse who cared for veterans. He believed in helping others.
His life ended too soon, and the full truth about his death is still not known. His story stayed unfinished. What do you think will happen next in the struggle between state and federal power?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.